case, they'll do that for you. So the certifications matter, but they're not all created equal. And I think it's really important for you folks and the consumers to understand that. This badge, it took 1,000 inspections before I even set for the test. The test was proctored by the same people that do your test, the testing facilities that you go to. The pass rate on that test is only 33%. The first time people take it, they fail 2/3 of the time. So this is what I consider to be a real certification. And the same thing would be true of ASHI. I think both of those are very bona fide. The two oldest groups in the United States, both founded in the mid-70s. So I would encourage you to not just stop at the word certified, but to peel back the onion a little bit and understand what certified means, because it's certainly not all created equal. So that's the first point I want to make. The other that we've been running into is some discussion about the new carbon monoxide law. In the back of the room, I put a little cheat sheet that I put together kind of quickly, but I think it covers one of the really critical points on that new law. It deals with the fact that the new law actually says that carbon monoxide detectors is a phased requirement to new construction and remodels starting January 1st. And then July 1st, 2011, single-family dwelling units that have a gas appliance, a fireplace, or a fire bed or a detached garage were required to have them. So today, anything that meets that criteria is required to have a carbon monoxide detector installed per the building codes, which is one per level outside bedrooms, and then the coverage determines, which is determined by the manufacturer, determines how many you need per level. So a little confusing, but the real point that I think is getting people kind of goofed up is in the law, it actually defines what a single-family dwelling unit is. It's not 1 to 4. That's where, I'll read you exactly what it says. It says, dwelling unit intended for human occupancy means a single-family dwelling, factory-built home as defined in section 19971, a duplex, a lodging house, a dormitory, a hotel, motel, condominium, stock cooperative, timeshare project, or dwelling unit in a multiple unit dwelling unit building or buildings. So basically, it's anything. As near as I can tell, people sleep there, and it's got a gas burning appliance of any kind that's permanently attached. It's got a fireplace, or it's got an attached garage. Today, it would be required to have a carbon monoxide detector. Anything that doesn't fit that set of criteria is going to require a CO detector come July 1st, 2013. So that's one of the points. I had a lot of questions. CREIA had a booth out here. I had a lot of questions on that during the time that we were here. I thought it was really important to make that case. Again, there's a little cheat sheet in the back. You're welcome to take those. If there's got questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Email me, call me, whatever. The last point I want to make, I'm going to keep this real brief, is something that's kind of come to light for us as home inspectors over the last almost just about a year ago. And that is something to do with these little gizmos that you guys all know and love called smoke alarms. This kind of smoke alarm is what's found in 95% of U.S. homes. And I say 95% that have smoke alarms. This is what's called an ionization smoke alarm. It's the sensor type in it that makes it special. So the problem is, this alarm will go off when you cook. It will go off when you shower. The survival rate in a fire of the occupants is actually only 40%. So 60% of the time, this alarm will go off after the occupants are actually dead. Kind of a problem. Okay. This alarm, which is available, I bought these two for $23 at Costco 3 days ago, is a photoelectric alarm. The survival rate with this one in a fire is 96%. Kind of a good thing. I would simply pose the question to you, which house do you want to be sleeping in tonight? And which house do you want your friends, family, and customers to be sleeping in? CREIA just officially took a position that says we're going to work at the state level to change the law and to change the building codes to ban these ionization alarms because they are just flat out dangerous. The cities of Palo Alto up here the city of Albany, the city of Sebastopol, the city of Orange in Southern California have already taken steps and banned that technology, as have the states of Maine, Iowa, Vermont, and Massachusetts, and I think about half of Australia and one of the European community nations. So this is a real problem. Not knowing the difference between these two things costs 1,000 people a year their lives in the U.S. 1,000 people think they have functional smoke alarms and they do not wake up some morning because they had a fire. So this is a real problem. The other issue with these is because the ionization alarms nuisance trip so much, they're 8 times more likely to have the batteries pulled out. 2/3 of all the people that die in the United States die in homes with disabled smoke alarms. So that's another 2,400 people a year. And this has been going on for decades. So the estimates run in the 30,000 to 40,000 basically avoidable deaths over this one issue. CREIA is going to be sponsoring or attempting to sponsor legislation. I would encourage CAR to be involved in that process, and we would actually greatly enjoy and appreciate that. So that's all I had. I know it looks like there's a few questions already. Yes.
Dave Farn, Region 4. Are those products clearly marked ionization versus photoelectric? Is it clear which one's which?
Well, for starters, if you can't tell, there's a 95% probability you have ionization alarms because they sell 95% of the product they sell is ionization. So the ionization units will always say somewhere on the back that they have radioactive material because they use a little bit of American 241, I think, or they will have an I in the model number. The photoelectrics will have, the newer ones will have a P in the model number, but manufacturers do not make it easy to tell them. KITA and ERK both are the two big guys, the big guns in the industry. They both kind of make it a little tough to tell. Good question, yes.
Does this consideration only apply to battery operated, or does it also apply to hardware?
This is the sensor type that actually detects the smoke, so it affects any type of smoke alarm for residential. Oddly enough, you can't install an ionization alarm in a commercial installation. The fire departments won't allow you to put this in. They only allow you to put it where you sleep. Yes?
Yeah, morning, James Dill, Region 19. We had a meeting yesterday, we attended several meetings yesterday. One of those meetings dealt with the CEO detector. They said that only one alarm is required per house, per structure, regardless of floors. Is that true or is that not true?
My understanding, I've read SB 183, the long haul, it's the Carbon Monoxide Poisoning Act of 2010. It's the California Carbon Monoxide Poisoning Act of 2010. My understanding of the law is that the requirement for single-family dwelling units is that they be installed per the manufacturer's installation instructions, and it implies to me that they have to be installed per the building code. The building code requires one per level, areas outside sleeping areas, and it actually says it has to be installed per the manufacturer's instructions. The instructions will give you coverage. Like some alarms might only cover 400 square feet, some might cover 1,000. So in a two-story house, the minimum would be 2. In a 2,500 square foot California ranch style, where all the bedrooms are on this side and the living space is over here, you might need 2 or 3 to comply in reality. And I know that's a little difficult because you guys are kind of caught in the middle when people are asking you questions. On the cheat sheet in the back, I did not put that stuff in because I literally did it before I came here this morning. But if anybody wants to email me, I'll update that with my understanding of the law. I know your legal staff is probably all over this as well. I'd be interested to see what their take is on it. Is everybody going to read the same stuff?
Sure, I'll give you our take on conclusions. Yeah, I mean, basically, you don't, if you have 2 levels, but there are only sleeping areas on one level, you can get away with only one.
Okay. And the other issue was that the CO detector, the one that they're now producing through the Lowe's and the Home Depots and such, are only good 3 to 4 years. In other words, you get rid of the whole unit. You just don't change the batteries. But if you're,
In general, smoke alarms have a 10-year lifespan, so they should be replaced every 10 years, which we all know happens. So when we walk in houses and see things that look like they were built in the early 1900s. The CO detectors, it's a lifespan determined by the manufacturer, and that's based on the sensor type. There are sensors that only last for 3 years. There are other sensors that, I think the most widespread type will give you about a 5-year life. Some are pushing that to 7. So it really is a manufacturer issue as to what the lifespan actually is for that particular unit. And by the way, that issue is one of the reasons why the dual sensor units are really not a really great idea, because you're either keeping the smoke alarm, or you're throwing the smoke alarm way too soon, or you're keeping the CO detector after it's past its lifespan. Yes.
Not to beat this up,
Okay.
but in chemistry class, I remember carbon monoxide gas was heavier. So, you know, when you go to Costco or Home Depot and you ask the guy where to put it, up or down, half of them will say up, half of them will say down. The people that say down say, oh, I can't do that because my child will disconnect it. Okay, so where do you put it? And if you've got 4 bedrooms upstairs, will one be enough?
Okay, so my understanding is, and I've read a lot of the industry safety-related issues. Barack publishes a book that's literally about 200 pages long on carbon monoxide. That's the one that I referenced in a couple of articles that I put back there. Their take is that carbon monoxide, the molecule weight of a CO molecule is relatively the same as air, and it will homogenize sufficiently in the air that up or down really doesn't make a whole lot of difference. Carbon monoxide is generally introduced into the living space through flue gases, in other words, hot or warm gases, because they come out of gas appliances. So they tend to go up first, but then when it cools and homogenizes, it should move through the structure. The reality is, you look at the manufacturer's installation instructions, if it's a plug-in device, it'll say, put it down. It's designed to be there and do its job and meet the UL standard that it has to meet in order to be called a carbon monoxide detector. So you can refer to whatever the manufacturer says in that regard. With regard to the bedrooms, the law is that it has to be in areas that give access to sleeping areas, and then the coverage determines whether, you know, if those 4 bedrooms are in a hallway that's 2,000 square feet because it's, you know, some monster mansion, you're probably going to need more than one. So the coverage would determine how many you needed in that case. In general, though, one's probably going to